Welcome to another video. So in this video, we'll try and understand a landmark Supreme Court ruling as far as GST input tax credit or ITC is concerned. So during the course of this video, we'll try and understand what exactly is the issue concerned or issue involved, about which particular section or provision we are talking about in the GST law. What was the challenge by the petitioner or the taxpayer in this particular case? And when it went to the High Court, what was the High Court verdict? And when a special leave petition of an SLP was filed before the Supreme Court, what was the Supreme Court ruling? And finally, what is the way ahead as far as this ruling is concerned by the Supreme Court? So first things first, that is all about the section or the issue involved. Now, as far as taking the credit of GST involved on purchases is concerned, there are predominantly four conditions that you need to follow. The first one is the fact that you should have a copy of the invoice, whether it's a hard copy or a soft copy. If you're involved in the purchase of goods or availment of services, you should have a copy of the invoice with you. So an invoice, a tax invoice is a must. In addition to having a tax invoice, you should also physically buy the goods, not just having the invoice, but not just having the invoice and not having the goods will not make you eligible to avail input tax credit. You need to actually purchase the goods or avail the services. Service could be at the time of invoice or before the invoice or after the invoice. But in addition to having an invoice, you need to do the purchasing or the availment of services. Once the supplier files his return, once your supplier files his return, the data pertaining to the transaction between the both of you will come on the GST online portal on GSTR 2B, and only if it comes in GSTR 2B will you be able to claim the GST credit of the same every month. So there is a condition that the supplier must file his GST return, specifically GSTR 1, only then will reflect on the GSTR 2B on your portal and then avail input tax credit of whatever GST that you paid on the purchases. In addition to 1, 2 and 3, you have the fourth condition, which is the talking point in this particular video, based on which the Supreme Court had passed a ruling. And this is under section 16, subsection 2, clause C of the CGST Act 2017, which talks about the case or condition where as a recipient, as a bona fide purchaser, buyer, you need to ensure that your supplier has paid tax to the government at the time of filing GSTR 3B. Only then can you, as a recipient, take the credit of the GST that you pay on the purchases. Otherwise, you cannot. So ensure that the supplier's paid tax is one condition as far as availing or taking input tax credits are concerned. Now, this definitely leads to a very draconian provision because you cannot chase or go behind the supplier. You are a bona fide purchaser, a genuine person. Now you must take the effort of ensuring that the suppliers pay tax and then you must take the credit. So against this particular section, there was a challenge. This is not an old issue. It's been there for quite a number of years. The challenge by the tax-paying community was that section 16(2) subsection 6 is purely unconstitutional. It violates the provisions of articles 14, 19 and 265 of the Indian Constitution. And therefore, this particular provision from law needs to be struck down, read down by the government, because simply I am unable to check the payments. Only if there's a mechanism for me to check the payments if done by the supplier to the government, can I ensure or can I be sure that I can avail the credit of the GST that guy is paid. So because of a practical mechanism which is absent, why do you impose this particular section or why is it present in the GST law? So therefore it's unconstitutional. Please strike it down. It was a challenge by the tax-paying community. Now what happened is, in a particular case, the taxpayer filed an appeal. It went to the Gujarat High Court, and the Gujarat High Court set 2 points as far as this particular case is concerned. One, all four conditions are to be satisfied. If you only satisfy 1, 2, 3, that is, you have an invoice you purchased and your data is coming in GSTR 2B, therefore your avail is is not the only criteria. You also need to satisfy condition number 4 as far as ensuring that the supplier has paid tax and you taking a credit of the same. So all 4 conditions need to be satisfied. In addition to all this, the department of the government is giving the taxpayer, the buyer, the purchaser 2 remedies. One, it gives you the provision of Rule 37A. What is Rule 37A? Rule 37A says that in case of a purchase that you have made, you can first, what you will do, you will avail the credit. But tomorrow you are unsure whether suppliers pay tax to the government, and therefore you can reverse the same before 30th of the subsequent year. Let's say I'm talking about a transaction in 26-27, and let's say in March 27, this particular supplier has supplied items to you. You have availed in the month of March the credit, but you're unsure whether the supplier has paid tax. Therefore, you have time up to 30th November 27 to reverse it. And then Rule 37A says that as soon as the supplier has paid tax, you have the eligibility or the provision or the facility to re-avail the same under Rule 37A. Re-availment can be within any time. Suppose the supplier has paid tax, let's say in the month of December 27, you can go forward and re-avail the same. So 37A gives you the benefit of reversal reclaim. 73, 74 are litigation sections provided in the Income Tax Act, which can be used by the department to issue a show cause notice and then pass an order and all that, where they can recover from the defaulting supplier. So don't worry. The Gujarat High Court is saying that don't worry purchasers, don't worry recipients, don't worry buyers. There's already a remedy under Rule 37A. And if there are defaulting suppliers, then the department can go behind them using the provision of Section 73, 74. What the High Court stressed upon is the fact that if a particular section in the GST Act needs to be struck down or read down, then the fact is that it should be ambiguous. There should be a lack of clarity involved in that particular provision. In 16 subsection 2 clause C, there is no ambiguity, there is no lack of clarity. It is unambiguous. What it says is that if the supplier has not paid tax, the recipient cannot avail GST on what it purchased from the supplier. It is very clear. What is not clear is the practical application of it. So mere hardship or practical difficulty will not make section 16 subsection 2 clause C a ambiguous section, a lack of clarity section. It is unambiguous. So therefore, I cannot. The Gujarat High Court says that there is no mechanism to strike down or read down a particular section if it is unambiguous. What the High Court also stressed upon is the fact it instructed the department, it recognized the genuine hardship caused by the purchasers or the recipients, the taxpayers, and said that the department should very soon implement a payment tracking mechanism which will help the buyers know when the suppliers pay tax to the government and therefore avail credit. We have something called as IMS today, but this IMS is only for accepting, rejecting, pending a particular input tax credit. It does not give data as to whether that particular supplier has paid tax to the government or not. So this again went to the Supreme Court. The petitioner filed a SLP, a special leave petition, before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court concluded the case very quickly. It read the entire Gujarat High Court judgment and it said that it respectfully obliges, it respectfully aligns with the High Court. It just said that it aligns with the High Court decision. It did not go into depth of the matter, it did not cross connect or whatever. What it said is that I have understood the High Court order and I'm 100% respectfully aligning with it. This gives rise to a landmark Supreme Court judgment as far as 16 subsection 2 clause C is concerned. Now there is clarity as to the constitutional validity. If a notice comes to you as far as 16.2 subsection C that supplier has not paid, therefore you cannot avail ITC, you cannot challenge it because already Supreme Court has released a verdict and it dismissed the special leave petition. Talking about the implications and the way forward. So like I said, 100% the constitutional confusion is done away with. Now it's clear that this is not going to be struck down, not going to be read down. But what we need clarity on is the operational difficulty. When will the department have a payment tracking mechanism which will help the recipient know when the supplier has paid tax to the GST department? Only then can the recipient avail input tax credit. So the operational difficulty still persists. And therefore, what businesses should do henceforth? July 28th, 2026 was the Supreme Court verdict, and I believe it's a prospective effect, not a retrospective effect. And what the Supreme Court said is that henceforth 16(2) subsection C is going to be constitutionally valid. Therefore, what businesses must do is regularize the agreements, strengthen the agreements with the vendors. Now, you should definitely have a clause in the agreement saying that ensure that the suppliers pay tax to the government. Only then can you avail. So, have a clause in the agreement which puts some thrust burden on the supplier, ensuring his responsibility to pay tax to the government because it affects you. Vendor compliance checks not only becomes important at the beginning. It's not that when new vendors coming to you for your business, you're onboarding the vendor and then that's it. You need to have a monthly check on that particular person. Maybe have a team dedicated to check these vendors whether they are paying tax on time, get some proof in whatever manner, and all that. Reverse and reclaim provisions avail the benefit of Rule 37A. Rule 37A is coming for you, which says that you reverse with the time limit but reclaim when the supplier has paid tax. So use 37A to a great extent. Practical solutions is something that the government should come back with. Hopefully, with the Gujarat High Court direction, Supreme Court direction, the government will come back with some kind of payment tracking mechanism, like how they brought IMS into the picture. They might bring something called information payment system, whatever, wherein it will give data as to whether the supplier has paid tax to the government through GST or 3B. Only then can you avail input tax credit. Well, I hope I was able to make things clear in this particular video. If you like the video, you could show support to us by hitting the like button. If you want more videos, these on a regular basis through way of notifications, you could also think of hitting on the subscribe button. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and thank you.